people. And so therefore, I began telling stories. I thought that this would be a good way, a good method in which to tell people or to remind people of things that they have forgotten along the way. So as a researcher, I pick up things from around us that are there, but we are so busy in our lives, we don't look at it, or we don't admire it all that much. So one of the examples is flowers. So flowers is one of the topics that I have been researching on and I have been talking about. It's one of my pet topics. So there are flowers. We begin our life with flowers and we end our lives with flowers. Flowers is the thing that actually goes with us to the very last moment we are on earth. And how much of attention do we give flowers? When you ask anybody, what is your favorite flower? They will say rose, they will say hibiscus at the most, lotus. These are a few flowers. But what about the flowers that are around us? And these stories, when we talk about history, well, these flowers have traveled. Like most of the flowers we see around us today, there are some that are native, there are a lot that are guests that have now come and settled so much in India that they are become part of our tradition. So today I'm going to share with you some of these flowers, and I think the least we can do for these flowers is to know them by their names. Every day when we wake up and we go about our work, there are these flowers who are every day blooming and smiling and spreading happiness. But how many of us, while we are traveling to work, while we are traveling anywhere, just look at the flowers and smile back at them? Do we take the time to see what is the name of this sweet little flower that is smiling at me? And by names, I don't mean botanical names. You don't have to go and find out those hard to pronounce botanical names, but at least the common names that are there. Flowers also have fragrance, they have color, and all of these, to me, they are something that memories get tied to these. So right from the time you're growing up, you have some interaction with flowers, maybe on birthdays or something. Grandmother likes to wear a particular flowers, and then these flowers have these memories with you. So today, what I would like to do is I would like to invite all of you to give this full another half an hour that we are going to do completely to flowers. Think about the flowers, about the various interactions you have had with flowers in your life. Now, coming back to stories, and I am going to share stories with you. Storytelling is not only about the teller who tells, it is also about the listener. So all of you are invited to partake in the story. So you have to listen to the story. And so that's the interaction that goes, the two-way interaction. And in order to enter into the storytelling space, we need to prepare ourselves. One of the ways I like to prepare ourselves is through music. So I'm going to play for you a little song just so that we get into this mode to listen to stories, to interact with the topic of flowers this evening. So just 2 minutes, just listen to this music and relax. So there are these flowers. They're always with us. We interact with them. We grow up with them. And let us now look at some of the flowers that we see around. I'm going to share a couple of slides. And I'm going to tell you a little more about these flowers. Let me just... I call this session Enchanted Woods. And what I mean by Enchanted Woods is we are always looking for happiness. And where do we look for happiness? We are always looking outside. Where is this happiness? But the happiness is right around us in the form of flowers. So Enchanted Woods is not something where you have to go, you have to travel a far distance. It's right there in your neighborhood. All you have to do is open your eyes and look around. So let us look at the first flower I have for you. I'm sure you've seen this flower. It is a pretty common flower. It's there in gardens. The name of this flower it's called the Christ thorn, or the crown of thorns flower. The reason it is called this is because it has a lot of thorns, these big thorns, and they say, it is believed that this is the plant out of which the crown of Jesus Christ was constructed and put on his head. Now, this plant is a native of Madagascar. So you see, plants have traveled. So one of the things we carry along with us wherever we travel in the world is we want to carry our homes with us. We want to carry the flowers with us, and seeds are one of the things that we carry. So probably somebody who came from this place got the seeds with us. Or another theory could be that Madagascar was part of India, of the landmass, many, many millions of years ago, before it separated and went off to where it is now. So maybe this was one that remained over there. So this is the Christ flower. It's a beautiful flower. You can keep it in your house. It blooms all throughout the year. This is another plant. It is one of my favorites. It is called the devil's tree. In Malayalam, the name of this tree is the Pala tree. In Marathi, it is called Satvin or Saptaparni. In Hindi, it is Saptaparni. This tree is right now in bloom. It is very fragrant. It is a night blooming flower. So when you're walking along the streets, it's planted along many streets, especially if you go to Ahmedabad, outside of Ahmedabad airport, it's completely lined with these plants. And flowers speak to us. Flowers become part of our lives, whether we know it or we don't know it, through fragrance. For example, I'm sure none of us have given too much attention and seen these flowers because they're really, really small. But I'm very sure everyone would know the fragrance, because it is an extremely fragrant flower. Now, this plant is called devil's tree because it is believed that the devils or the spirits reside on this tree. And this is something that we find reoccurring in a lot of tales, a lot of folk tales, a lot of legends about night blooming fragrant plants. They always say that there are spirits, there are gandharvas that go and live on them. So this is one of the tree. And I'm going to narrate to you a story that is related to this tree. I'll just show you another view. This is another view. There are these small flowers, and these are the seed pods. These long pods that you see here, those are the seed pods of this plant. So let me begin with the first story for the evening. So it's called The Legend of the Pala Tree. Many years ago, in a small village somewhere in India, there lived a boy. This boy was a shepherd. So he would take his sheep and go off into the meadow to graze his sheep. Now, on that hillock, there was a pala tree. And on that pala tree, there lived a spirit. This little boy, his name was Ramu. Ramu would take his sheep and go every day to that hillock, and he would sit there under the pala tree. He would take out his flute and he would begin to play a melody. Ramu was an excellent flute player. The spirit on that pala tree, when the first time he saw Ramu come and sit under his tree, he did not like it. Who is this person coming and sitting under my tree? The spirit was annoyed. He was about to strike Ramu and kill him or injure him very badly when he heard Ramu play the flute. Oh, the beauty, the melody that flowed from Ramu's flute was magical. The spirit was mesmerized. He stopped there. He listened and he decided that this is not a bad thing after all. And slowly by slowly, he began to enjoy the melody. The spirit began to dance. Among those trees, among the leaves in the pala tree, the spirit began dancing and enjoying the melody. And he decided that he would not harm Ramu. Now, this began to happen every day. Ramu found the shade of the pala tree extremely peaceful for him to play his flute. So every afternoon, Ramu would go and sit in the shade of the pala tree, take out his flute, and begin playing a melody. The spirit would dance. One day, the spirit decided to come down and befriend Ramu, something that he had never done before. He came there and he spoke to Ramu, and Ramu and the spirit became friends. The spirit said to Ramu, "Normally, I do not like anybody sitting in the shade of my tree. This is my tree. But you play the flute so beautifully. Please come here every day. You are most welcome to sit here." And so Ramu would every day go there and play this beautiful melody on the flute. And the spirit would dance and enjoy himself. And so the days passed. One day, it so happened that the prince of that kingdom was taking his rounds, and he happened to come across Ramu playing his flute. The prince stopped. He listened. He loved what he heard. He came there and he said to Ramu, "Play for me this tune. It is so beautiful. Please play for me." Ramu was now surprised, and he saw that he was in the presence of a royal person. So he started playing the flute to the best of his ability. The prince was happy. He said to Ramu, "This is so beautiful. I shall come here every day, and every day you must play something for me. And when I am king, I will make you a minister in my court." Ramu was very happy. He had never heard of such big things, becoming a minister in the court. So every day the prince would come and Ramu would sit and play his tune. The spirit did not like this at all. The spirit did not like that Ramu was playing not for him now, not for the spirit, but for this prince. And now, slowly by slowly, the melody of the flute began to change. Ramu was no longer playing for himself. He was no longer playing for his happiness. He was playing to please the prince. He was playing to please somebody else. The spirit did not like this at all. Well, days passed. One day, the prince did not come. And Ramu heard that the king of that kingdom had passed away. Said Ramu to the spirit, "The king has passed away. So that means now the prince will be the new king. Won't that be nice?" The spirit wasn't. He said, "Yes, oh, it is bound to happen. He will be the next king." Ramu was very happy. And by, Ramu came to know that the new king was going to be coronated. Ramu was thrilled. He said to the spirit that, "I am going to congratulate my friend. I am going to go to the city. I am going to go to the palace, and I am going to congratulate my friend on him becoming a king." The spirit said, "Ramu, forget it. These are royal people. These are big people and people from the royal family and all. They forget their promises. You are but a small shepherd boy. Listen to me, Ramu. Don't go. You stay here." But poor Ramu, he was so innocent. He said, "No, I must go. I must go and congratulate the king." So even after the spirit trying his best, Ramu said, "Nothing doing. I'm going to go." So Ramu pulled out the best shirt that he had. He put the best dhoti that he had. He pulled his special purple, the turban that he kept only for special occasions, and he put it around his head. He decked himself up to the best of his ability. He took up his walking stick and he walked to the palace, which was quite a distance. It took him many hours to walk to the palace, but he walked. And when he reached the palace, there was a whole crowd there. Everybody had come to congratulate the king. Ramu went, thinking himself to be very important, for wasn't he going to be the minister, a special person in the king's court? So he went with great authority to the gatekeepers, and he said to the gatekeepers, "Allow me to enter. I have come to meet the king." "To meet the king," said the gatekeepers, "and who do you think you are?" "Well, I am Ramu, the shepherd boy, and the king, he knows me very well. I have come to greet him." The gatekeepers, the soldiers there, they laughed. "Oh, yes, yes. You have come. You are one more of the king's great friends, no doubt. Please wait here. There are lots of friends of the king's waiting, all waiting to go and congratulate him. Please wait here. Please wait in queue." Ramu was startled. He said, "No, really? I am the great friend of the king. He used to come and listen to my music every day there at the hillock in the place there with all the sheep. I am Ramu the shepherd." "Oh, yeah, wait here," said the soldier. Now, at exactly that time, the gates opened and the king himself was coming out in the chariot to meet and greet all his people. Ramu saw the king. He screamed in delight. He said, "Your Majesty, I am here. Ramu, I have come to congratulate you." Now the prince had become the king and he was high up there on the chariot. He could not see enough of the people around. And when he saw Ramu, he said, "Oh, many of the people have come to see me." He did not listen to him. And Ramu began screaming, "It's me, Ramu, the shepherd, Your Majesty, Your Highness. Remember me? I play those music, that beautiful music." And the king, he looked at his soldiers and said, yes, just put him away somewhere. I'm too busy." And the king went away. Ramu was extremely sad. The spirit was right. The king had refused to acknowledge him. Ramu was terribly sad. He went back home with a heavy heart. Dragging his feet, he went back to his village. He was so sad. The next afternoon, he went and he sat underneath the pala tree. He was terribly sad. The spirit was very annoyed with Ramu. He had warned him, "Don't go to the palace." But Ramu had not listened to him. So the spirit was sulking and he was sitting on the tree there. Ramu came, he sat underneath the tree, and slowly, tears started flowing down Ramu's cheek. He no longer felt like playing the tune on the beautiful flute. The spirit was sitting up there. Serves him right. I told him not to go. Well, he saw Ramu silently crying. But the spirit couldn't stop himself. He looked at Ramu and said, "Oh, so the minister has come here and you're sitting here. Shouldn't you be at the palace?" Poor Ramu. A fresh bout of tears started coming down his cheeks. So the spirit, he said, all right, stop crying. What happened?" And Ramu said, "Oh, the king, you were right, spirit. That king, he refused to acknowledge me. He said he doesn't even know me. He told the guards to shoo me away." "What?" said the spirit. "He refused to acknowledge you? He used to come and listen to your music?" "Yeah. He said he'll make me a minister, but he did not even look at me so much." Now the spirit was angry. How dare this prince treat his own Ramu like that? Did he? I'm going to see. Now just wait and watch and see what I do. And the spirit, he got out from the pala tree. He sat on the wings of the wind and swoosh, he went to the palace. He went to the court where the court was in session. The king was sitting on the throne. And the spirit, he sat down next to the king. The king could not see him because he was an invisible spirit. And he put his hand around him and in the blink of an eye, something extraordinary happened. Something magical. The king began sprouting horns and two great teeth. What is happening? All the ministers looked at the king. The king was surprised. "Why are you looking at me like this?" he said. One of the ministers showed him a mirror. The king was shocked. What has happened? What has happened? And the spirit, he rushed back to the pala tree and he sat down there. Serves him right. Now let's see who is being an arrogant king. Well, the king was terribly ashamed. He had horns, he had big teeth, he did not know what to do. He went to his bedroom and he sat down there. Doctors were called for, sorcerers were called for, magicians were called for, but nobody could cure the king. What to do? The king was terribly, terribly sad. There were messengers sent everywhere. That's anybody who can cure the king is welcome to come and try and cure him. Well, the news reached Ramu that his king, his friend, had grown horns and had grown teeth. So Ramu went and sat under the pala tree, and there he started speaking to the spirit, and he said to the spirit, "Oh spirit, something terrible has happened." "What has happened?" said the spirit, quite enjoying himself. "What has happened?" "The king, our friend, the prince, you know what has happened to him? He has got horns and he has got teeth. Poor thing, something dreadful has happened to him." "Serves him right," said the spirit. "Serves him exactly right. He was being arrogant to you, was he not? Serves him right." Ramu looked at the spirit and said, "Did you do something? Is your hand in this?" The spirit looked. He said, maybe. Ramu was shocked because whatever it was, Ramu was a very honest boy, a very kind-hearted, generous boy. Ramu said to the spirit, "Spirit, you can't do this. He is after all our king. He can behave however he wants, but you should not punish him like this." No. I must go and heal him. We must do something. We have to heal him. Take away his horns and take away those terrible teeth. "Oh no," said the spirit. "Let it be there for another year or so. Let him come to know how it's very bad to be mean to others. Let him suffer." Ramu pleaded with the spirit, "Oh spirit, please don't do this." "All right," said the spirit. "All right. Okay, so you go to the palace and you meet the king. And I will tell you a secret that you're supposed to do, a secret spell that you're supposed to do on the king, and I will take away the spell." "All right, what am I supposed to do?" said Ramu. "Oh, you take the branch of this pala tree and you go to the king and you move it 3 times around his head and you say the secret spell." "That's it," said Ramu. "That's it. And you will cure the king?" "I will cure the king," said the spirit. And so Ramu, this time, he immediately started, he took a branch of the pala tree and he went to the kingdom, to the palace. This time, when he reached the palace, the guards did not stop him because they had orders from the king that anybody who says they have a cure for the king should be sent in immediately. So Ramu was taken to the king. The king was seated there. He looked at Ramu. He showed a little bit of recognition in his eyes. His eyes lit up and he said, "Oh, this person has come to see me." Ramu went to the king. He bowed down to the king. And as instructed, he took the leaves, that branch of the pala tree, and he waved it around the head of the king. And he said, "The spirit of the pala tree, I pray, may the spell of this king go away, go away." And immediately the king was healed. The king now came to know his mistake. He went to Ramu, he bowed down to him, and he said, "Ramu, my friend, I'm terribly sorry that I did not first recognize you. Please come to my palace and be my royal musician. Please stay here in the palace with me." But Ramu, he was now not interested. He said to the king, "I'm very happy that you have got healed. I am but a poor, simple shepherd boy. My place is out in the meadows with my goat, with my sheep. So I'm going to go back. I'm very happy that you are healed now. And anytime you wish to listen to the music, all you have to do is either summon me or come to the field out there and I will play the music for you." And Ramu returned happily back to his village, back to the pala tree. And there Ramu stayed with the spirit of the pala tree. And every afternoon, if you still go to that village today, you will find this boy, the shepherd boy Ramu, playing on that flute. And you will find the fruit, the pod of the pala tree that represents the fruit. And it is to remind you of this story. So that is the beautiful story of this shepherd boy and the spirit of the pala tree. Now, interesting thing about this pala tree, it is called scholaris because they say the bark of this tree is used to make blackboards to write. So it is called scholaris. And that was the wonderful story. And there are many, many such beautiful stories about the plants and trees all around us. Now, scholaris is one of the trees that is native to India. So it is one of our original trees. Now, let me take you to another flower. I'll just share my slide again. Yes. So just to show you once again, these are the pods of the pala tree, the Saptaparni. Now let us go to the next flower. This flower, I'm sure all of you know. It is the marigold. But there is an interesting thing about the marigold. Do you know the marigold is not native to India? We have marigold, we use it for all the festivals, right from Diwali to Dashera to marriages to everything. We cannot imagine our life without the marigold flower. But marigold flower is not native to India. It came to India fairly recently, around 300, 350 years ago. And there are different types of marigold. Let me just show you. Okay. This is another flower. This is also called marigold. This is the original marigold. So this is actually a flower called the calendula. The calendula is a flower that is native to Southern Europe. And it is called marigold because there is a legend attached to it. Now they say that Mary, the mother of Christ, used to wear this flower in her somewhere on her dress. Now this calendula flower is very it is very important to human beings in the sense that it is medicinal in nature. And when this flower also has traveled to India. So we get a lot of calendula antiseptic cream, and Ayurveda has very nicely adopted and made use of it. So it's quite an important plant that has come down to India. So this calendula began to be called marigold. And this flower, which is similar to the calendula, also got its name marigold. We know it in Hindi as genda fool. Genda, Jenducha pool. Now, the reason it is called genda is because its name is Tegetis. So from Tegetis, you got genda. So this is, and among the marigold also, this one is called the Aztec marigold. This flower is native to Mexico, while calendula is native to Southern Europe. So they are very different, but only because they look similar. They have similar orange yellow color. They are called interchangeably as marigold. So this one is called Aztec marigold or African marigold. It's called African marigold because this flower, again, the seeds were taken to Africa and it began growing there profusely. This flower, in fact, is used in the ceremony of the dead, just like we have a function here in India where we honor our ancestors. Similarly, among the Aztecs, they have a special day where they honor the ancestors. And this flower plays a very important role in that ceremony. So this is the Aztec marigold. We have another kind of marigold here, this one. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure it's there in some of your gardens. This is called the French marigold. So they're all very similar looking and its name is Tegetis patula. So within marigolds also, there are so many types. They are all beneficial. If you plant a marigold plant amongst your other plants, it prevents insects from destroying all the other plants. So it's a friend to the farmers and to vegetable garden growers. So this is the marigold here. Here is another one. I'm sure most of us, a lot of us who love plants must be having this one in our homes. This is a plant that we put in small, we hang them from hooks. It's a show plant. It has an interesting name. It's called the purple heart. Or another name for it is called the wandering Jew. Now, how did this flower, this plant get this name, the wandering Jew? So there is a story that is related to Jesus Christ. So it seems when Jesus Christ was being taken to be crucified, there was a Jew, a person from the Jewish community who made fun of him. And as a result, they say that he was cursed to roam around the earth until the second coming of the Jesus. Until the second coming of Jesus. So they say that this person is still wandering around. And how did this plant get the name of wandering Jew? Because this plant is very hardy. You can put it anywhere and it will grow. It doesn't require too much of a climate. It's not a fussy plant. It can grow anywhere. You just take a cutting and it will grow. So that's the reason. But I prefer to use the name Purple Heart. The flowers are pretty. They're very beautiful. So this is how it is. I prefer. So nowadays, we prefer to not use the word wandering Jew. They use a word wandering guy or wandering human or something like that. Because why narrow it down to one community? It can be anything. So this is the purple flower. So I'm hoping that you are taking notes. So the next time you look at this flower, you know the names of it. All right. So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to tell you another story. Okay. So this is a story. Again, it is about a flower. And let me see if you can guess what flower it is or what plant it is. So the story goes, and this story comes from Orissa. So the story goes that in Orissa, there was a kingdom called Judagadh. The king of Judagadh was very prosperous. He was doing very well. His treasury was full. His granary was full. He had lots of ministers who were very, very faithful to him. Everybody in the kingdom was very happy. Everything was going on well. The king was at peace with all the kingdoms around. The king also had 2 wives. So everything going on very nice. But the king was unhappy. There was something that wasn't going quite as right. And what was it? The king did not have any children. Now, for a king, it's very important to have children because you need a heir to the throne. So the king had 2 wives, but he did not have any children. And the king did not want to take any more wives. He did not want to adopt any children as well. So the king began looking for some way to heal, some doctor, something who could help him have children. So the king made a proclamation. He said, whoever can come and help my queens and help me and my queens have children and cure the queens of their barrenness, I will give that person half of my kingdom. So the messengers traveled far and wide, making this proclamation. Now, outside of the kingdom of Judagadh, there was a small hillock on the boundary. This hill was called Kanguda Dongar. On Kanguda Dongar, there lived a person called Kalyadanu. Now, this Kalyadanu lived in a small hut on the top of Kanguda Dongar. Everybody thought Kalyadanu was a holy man, was a sage, was a kind of a doctor, was kind of a medicine man. But Kalyadanu was not that. Kalyadanu was a monster. He was a cannibal. He loved eating humans. Now, Kalyadanu heard about this proclamation and Kalyadanu was intrigued. But what got Kalyadanu interested was not the half kingdom. Oh no, Kalyadanu didn't care about riches. Kalyadanu was more interested in the queens. Queens. Somebody has to treat the queens and the king. The queens. I wonder how the queens taste. I've eaten a lot of people up to now, but I've never eaten royal people. I wonder how these royal people taste. Queens. And the queens, they must be eating yummy food in the palace. They must be eating tandoori chicken They must be eating biryani. They must be eating food that is rich in curd and paneer and dry fruits and whatnot. And if the queens are eating all of this, I wonder how they will taste. Definitely very nice and tender. So Kalyadano made his plans. He said, I must have these queens. So Kalyadano sent his messengers to the king. And the messengers told the king that there is this man Kalyadano. He is a very well known physician. He can heal the queens, but there is a condition. The queens must go to Kanguda Dongar and live on that hillock with Kalyadano at his ashram. Now, the king, he had almost given up. He had tried everything he could. Lots of doctors had come from far and wide, lots of magicians, sorcerers, everybody, but to no avail. So the king said, all right, I will try this. So the king arranged for the queens to go to Kanguda Dongar. Now, this was the time when there was no transportation. There was no modern transportation. And horses could not go on top of Kanguda Dongar because Kanguda Dongar was very was a very steep climb. So, how to take the queens up? Well, if you know the modes of transport of the olden days, it was the palanquins. So the king called for the palanquins. 2 palanquins came with the palanquin bearers. The queens got ready. The king said to the queens, I know it's very hard for you, but we must do this. So the queens sorrowfully said bye to the king, and each of them got into the palanquin. The palanquin bearers picked up the palanquin. Now, if you know how the palanquin bearers went, in the olden days, the palanquin bearers used to chant, and they used to say, Hayya, 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 Hayya. The people in front, the palanquin bearers in front would say Hayya, and the palanquin bearers behind would respond Hayya. This was the way they communicated. So they put the queens in the palanquins, they lifted the palanquins on their shoulders, and they began to go up Kanguda Dongar. They started going Hayya, 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 Hayya. Slowly, slowly, up Kanguda Dongar, the palanquin bearers carried the queens. Hayya, 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 Hayya. On top of Kanguda Dongar was seated Kalyadanu. And he was waiting and he was watching. Here they come, here they come. Those lovely queens, those nice plump queens, how nice they will taste. I'm so anxious to eat them. He just couldn't wait. The palanquin bearers went Hayya, 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 and Kalyadano did not have to wait long. Soon the palanquin bearers reached the top. They set down the queens. Kalyadano was anxious. He looked anxiously what's going to come out of the palanquins. He saw those plump little feet step out of the palanquins. Oh, he was salivating. They're going to taste really yummy and lovely. As soon as the palanquin bearers went, Kalyadano looked at the queens and he swooped onto them and he ate, he gobbled both the queens up. Within no time, the queens were killed and in the tummy of Kalyadano. And then Kalyadano was very satisfied. They were really and truly delicious. And now that Kalyadano had eaten both the queens, his tummy was nice and full and taunt, and he began to feel sleepy. Said Kalyadano. And he lay down to sleep. He lay down in his ashram and Kalyadano went to sleep. Kalyadano slept for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. He slept and he slept and he slept. On the 7th day, the messengers of the king went up to the ashram. They knocked at the door. Kalyadano woke up. What was it? Who are they? Oh, the messengers, the queens. Oh, but the queens are not here. He said to the messengers, oh, the queens are not here. The treatment is not done. We need some more time. Please come after 3 days. So off went the messengers. After 3 days were over, the messengers came back again. But again, there were no queens. Kalyadano said, no, we are not done. Please come back after another 3 days. So the messengers went back. Now for the 3rd time, when the messengers went back, the king got suspicious. He said, something is not right. Something is not right. He felt that something terrible had happened to his queens. So he decided to go to Kanguda Dongar himself. So the king called a small group of people and he took up his sword and he began marching up Kanguda Dongar. Up, up, up Kanguda Dongar marched the king with his group of soldiers. Seated on top was Kalyadanu. He saw that the king is coming, and not alone, with a few soldiers, and in their hands were swords. Surely they are going to kill me. Kalyadanu was terrified. He ran into his ashram and hid underneath a bed. The king went up to the ashram. He began calling for the queens, but of course, there were no queens. They began looking everywhere in the ashram and they found a few bones and a few jewelry that belonged to the queens. And the king understood what had happened. I must find this Kalyadanu. And he began looking for him. Kalyadanu knew that the king is going to catch him now. So he came out of his bed, and when he saw the king coming to look for him, he ran through the back door of the ashram. Now, behind Kanguda Dongar was a thick forest. Kalyadanu ran into that forest. He went down Kanguda Dongar and into the forest. The king and his men followed in pursuit. Kalyadanu ran and ran and ran. He jumped on top of the trees. He went from below the branches. He jumped. He went this way. He went that way. He went behind this bush. He went under that branch. And he ran and ran and ran. The king and his men too followed. They followed every step of Kalyadanu. And very soon they were hot on the tail of Kalyadanu, just about to catch him. Kalyadanu ran, and he came to a big, tall tree. Kalyadanu turned behind him. He saw the men, the soldiers standing under the tree. Kalyadanu ran to the tree. He climbed up the tree. Kalyadanu ran and ran and ran. He jumped on top of the tree. When he saw the men, the king and his men were drunk. Up the tree climbed Kalyadanu. Up the tree he went. And as he went, Kalyadanu began pulling out his teeth. He pulled out his teeth and began pushing it in the trunk of the tree. As he went up, he pulled out his sharp big teeth, put it in the trunk of the tree, and went and sat on top of the tree. The king and his men came to the base of the tree. They tried to climb up the tree, but they could not climb it because the teeth of Kalyadanu were so sharp, they were poking their palms. So the king and his men couldn't climb up the tree, and Kalyadanu refused to come down the tree. And to this day, they say that Kalyadanu is seated right on top of the tree. And the tree that I'm talking about is called the semel tree, the kapok tree. Have you heard of it? Have you heard of Shalmali? The word Shalmali. It is a very famous, popular girl's name, Shalmali. So this is the tree, or another name you would know it by is the red silk cotton tree. If you travel from Pune, Bombay on the highway, you will see a lot of these trees there. It is very easy to identify the tree because the trunk is full of Kalyadanu's teeth. And let me show you an image. Here it is. This is the flower of the semel tree, the red silk cotton tree. It is a beautiful flower. Lot of parrots feed on this flower. And it is amazing. The place below the tree is full of red. It's like a red carpet if you go during the time this flower is in bloom. Let me show you the teeth of Kalyadanu. There it is. You see the trunk of the tree. Can you see those sharp spikes? Those are the teeth of who? Kalyadanu. Now you see, stories get you so interested in the tree. Otherwise, it is a tree with a lot of spikes. It's not fun at all. But the minute you put a monster there, the minute you tell a child that Kalyadanu is still sitting on top of the tree, he's not come down. So don't go there in the afternoons. There is so much of fun. And on the other side, you see the buds of this tree, the buds and the open flowers. When this flowers are in bloom, the tree is completely bare of leaves. You will see only the red flowers. So it looks very beautiful. So that was the story of the red silk cotton tree. Now let me take you to another popular flower. Have you seen this one? This tree is very, very popular all over Bombay. You would know it. If you're walking on the street, you will walk on a carpet of yellow flowers. This is called the copper pod tree. It has got beautiful yellow flowers. This tree is also a guest in India. It has come all the way from South Africa. I'm sorry, South America. So here is another, and we've got plants that have traveled from various places. We've got a lot of plants from Africa. We've got a lot of plants from America. We've got plants from Mexico. Now, how did they come here? Well, they came with the Spaniards, with the various conquerors who came here. And when they came, they wanted to bring a piece of their home with us. And how do they bring a piece of their home? They cannot carry the land and bring it here. What is the next best thing to carry? The plants. So they carry seeds, and they went wherever the places they went, they put down those seeds, and that's how the trees have come to us. Now let me take you to another very interesting. Yes, this is another view of the copper pods. It is called copper pods because of the seed pods. They have this beautiful copperish sheen to it. Have you seen this one? If you are in Maharashtra, you must have seen this. Do you know the name of this flower? This flower is native to India. It is called India's pride. It is called the Queen's Crepe Myrtle. The Marathi name for it is Taman, and the Hindi name for it is Jarul. Do you know what is special about this flower? It is the state flower of Maharashtra, and a beautiful flower. If you see this plant, it is full of these blossoms. It looks like a beautiful purple pink maiden standing there with this beautiful golden shower. You see the pollen? They have this beautiful golden colored pollen. Yes. So this is where I stop. So these are a few flower names that I wanted to share with you. These are the two stories that I wanted to share with you. I have been curious about why Jarul is the state flower of Maharashtra. I do not know. I'm trying to find out. Would any of you happen to know? Please share it with me. Another and again, I'm coming back to the memories. So one of the trees around which I have a lot of memories are the gulmohar trees. The gulmohar trees that bloom during the summertime. At the summertime, we have summer vacation, and I have spent a lot of summers underneath the gulmohar tree, playing with the petals, playing with my grandparents, playing with my cousins. So there are these memories that are tied to it. So I'm inviting you to share your memories, if you have, about flowers. Think over and think of either the fragrance, related to the fragrance, or related to the color, or related to the flower form. Each of these have a very particular form. Now, another reason that I did not tell in the beginning was, why am I telling stories about these? Why do I research these various topics? So I research a lot of topics. Another topic that I have done is bees. These are small things. Happiness comes in small packages. You don't have to look for big things to be happy. You can look for small things around. So the reason I like to talk about these, give information about these, is with the hope that somebody somewhere will take an interest in this subject and begin studying this subject, because we do need researchers to study these subjects for us to understand them better. For example, about the topic of bees, we do not know much about the different types of bees that are there other than the honeybees. A lot of research has been done on honeybees, but there are a lot of bees that live around. There are so many types of bees. bumblebees is one variety. There are solitary bees, that is one variety. We do not know much about them unless you go to a particular bee institute and study. And even there, because we lack researchers, you see, people these days, they're all studying only some particular subjects, but there are these so many small little subjects that are so interesting. And I'm hoping to kindle the fire of curiosity amongst children, amongst elders. And you can do this in your part time as well. You don't have to be a full time researcher. These subjects need to be looked at, and the world is full of such surprises. So, coming back, and you should do things that make you happy. So, look back at things, see what makes you happy, find these small bits of happiness. So, coming back to memories, do you have any memories with flowers that you can share? Rahulji, could you
Yeah,
share
yeah, yeah,
something?
definitely. First of all, I think it has been a very enchanting evening. So of course, I'll tell you to share, speak about Kathanika also in the end.
Yes.
बट रिगार्डिंग मेमरीज मी दोन मेमरीज शेअर करतो. मी मुद्दा मराठीत बोलतो कारण सगळ्यांनाच मला ते कळेल. पण वन मेमरी इज दॅट ड्युरिंग माय इन द स्कूल डेज वी टू गो फॉर दिस drawing competitions. And in Mumbai, the best, I think, still maybe if they take students for drawing competitions, I'm not sure. But on Gandhi Jayanti, we used to go to Mani Bhavan, and Mani Bhavan is placed on Laburnum Street. And Laburnum is one, I think, that's very, in fact, in Pune also, near, I think, in that region near Deccan College, and on the outskirts you have this. But in the Laburnum, the street is named after Laburnum. I don't know the आताचं नाव काय आहे ते, बट इट इज व्हेरी ऍप्टली नेम लॅबरनम. पूर्णपणे असा तो पिवळ्या धमक फुलांचा असा पूर्ण तो रस्ता साचलेला, आणि ते लहानपणाची ती मेमरी एवढी एच्ड आहे की त्याच्यामुळे ती ती राहिली आहे त्याच्यात. मी बाबांची एक काही इंटरेस्टिंग थोड्या मेमरी शेअर करतो, कारण त्यांचा मला वाटते त्यांना हा इट्स अ व्हेरी ऍप्ट एन्चॅन्टिंग ट्रिब्यूट टू हिम through flowers. So I'm really moved, Sharlin, I should really thank you. And I think I have been reading a few comments. I think everyone is actually, now I'm sure everyone will start seeing flowers and noticing flowers, more than seeing flowers, noticing flowers. And before I share the memory of my father, मी एक फक्त सांगतो, you said there is lack of researches. I think there is lack of creative research. आय थिंक इट्स नॉट ओनली रिसर्च, पुस्तकातला रिसर्च नाहीये आता. मला वाटतं आपल्याला सामान्य आपल्याकडे तो जो काय इसेन्स, तो जो एक काय म्हणतो, जीवनाला आपल्याला जर काहीतरी एक वी आर लॅकिंग क्रिएटिव्हिटी, आय थिंक, टू बी aesthetics and creativity. So I think such initiatives like which you're doing are filling that gap. So एक interesting memory regarding my father, as I told you, that he was a man of many, like, lot of trades. And त्यांना आवडायचं, खूप खूप काहीतरी गोष्टी करायला आवडायच्या त्याच्यामध्ये. मी लहानपण म्हणजे त्यांचा वावर मी म्हटलं तर वेगवेगळ्या क्षेत्रामध्ये बघितलंय मी त्याच्यात.
Mhm.
म्हणूनच
Mhm.
त्यांचा म्हणजे त्यांची मेमरी अशा पद्धतीने जिवंत ठेवण्याला हा फोरम डेडिकेट केला होता. तर त्यांनी दोन गोष्टी इंटरेस्टिंग, ज्या फ्लावर्सशी आणि फ्रेग्रन्सशी रिलेटेड आहेत, सांगतो. आणि हे मला असं वाटतं मी बोलल्यानंतर जे काही माझे आप्त आहेत, ऑल माय रिलेटिव्ह अँड माय फ्रेंड, दे विल रिमेंबर हिम दॅट वे. तर एकतर त्यांना ना, म्हणजे कुठून ती कला त्यांना अवगत झाली होती, आय डोंट नो हाऊ ही न्यू दॅट आर्ट, बट ही यूज टू मेक फायर क्रॅकर्स. And he used to make it from his teens. In fact, during making that firecrackers in his teens, he
Mhm.
त्यांचा ऍक्सिडेंट झाला होता पायाला. त्याच्या अजूनही डाग होते नंतर जेव्हा होते तेव्हा. पण ते
Mhm.
करायचे, ते खूप क्रिएटिव्हली करायचे. मी लहानपणी त्याच्यावर बसलोय की कुंभारवाड्यातून ती ब्रिंग दॅट अर्दन पॉट्स, आणि ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये अनार म्हणतो, किंवा शावर, तो फटाके आपण जे दिवाळीत फोडतो ना, की ते फुलोरा फुलतो. तर त्याच्यातला इंटरेस्टिंग भाग म्हणजे त्याचं ते व्हॉट एव्हर त्याचं मिक्सचर जे असायचं, व्हॉट एव्हर, आय डोंट नो व्हॉट ही टू पुट, बट ही टू टेल दॅट ओके राहुल, ह्याच्यातून ना शेवंती बाहेर येईल, ह्याच्यातून मोगरा बाहेर येईल. आणि इट युज टू हॅपन दॅट होल जो काय त्या क्रॅकर मधून जो काय दॅट होल ब्लूम युज टू हॅपन, इट युज टू रिझेंबल दॅट. इट वॉज लाईक ॲज अ चाइल्ड किंवा लहान माझ्या आम्ही सगळेच लहान घरातले लहान थोर ते अँड ही यूज टू गिफ्ट इट. आपण जसं मिठाई देतो ना, देर इज नो कमर्शियल ऍस्पेक्ट टू इट. देर वॉज नो कमर्शियल ऍस्पेक्ट. इट वॉज लाईक बनवायचे आणि मित्रांना द्यायचे. नातेवाईक जसं मिठाई देतो ना, तसं आमच्याकडून
Uh-huh.
फटाके जायचे. This is one memory which you relived. I think you will also be very it would interest you also की असं काहीतरी कोणतरी करत होते त्याच्यात. दुसरं म्हणजे ही देर वॉज अ सोशल कॉज विच वॉज रिलेटेड टू फ्रेग्रन्स. सो आउट ऑफ पार्ट ऑफ हिज एन्थुझियाझम अँड हिज पॅशन फॉर डुईंग समथिंग, हे जे काही स्लम मधली मुलं होती किंवा जी नाईट स्कूलला जायची, तर मला आठवते मी शाळेत होतो साधारणतः इन द 80s. ही स्टार्टेड अ कंपनी कॉल्ड फोन डेकॉर. And that time used to have those landline phones with that receiver, and that receiver had a mouthpiece. So the idea which struck him was that uh, the the boys would go at every month and clean that receiver and put fragrance to it. And म्हणून ही इज टू दॅट केळकर कंपनी आताही आहे ती फ्लेवर्स फ्रेग्रन्सेस मध्ये. त्यांचा तो दवा बाजारमध्ये मला आठवत त्यांच्यावर गेलेलो आहे. मग त्यांचा जो परफ्यूम असायचा फंटासिया और व्हॉट एव्हर नेम. सो ऍज सिम्पल ही सेड दॅट लेट्स गिव्ह फ्रेग्रन्स. आपण माणसं लोक फोनवर बोलतात त्यांना काहीतरी प्रसन्न वाटायला पाहिजे. आय डोंट नो हाऊ दॅट वॉज अ क्रिएटिव्हिटी. आता जेव्हा बघतोय आठवतो तेव्हा आय थिंक टुडे ऍक्च्युली इट जस्ट स्ट्रक मी की मीन्स दिस इज लाईक आय बिकम म्हणजे मला खूप असं इमोशनल झालोय आता मी. अँड आय एम शुअर एव्हरी वन, मी आता ही मेमरी सांगितली. आय मीन हुएवर इज हॅज बीन माय रिलेटिव्ह अँड हिज फ्रेंड्स, दे मस्ट बी रिमेंबरिंग दिस. तर त्यांनी नाव पण दिलं फोन डेकॉर ऍज जस्ट म्हणजे चार्जिंग वॉज व्हेरी मिनिमल. त्याच्यातून काय फायदा होत होता हा भाग वळून होता, पण त्याच्यापेक्षा त्यांनी जो काय एक कनेक्ट वेगळा क्रिएटिव्हली तो फ्रेग्रन्स हे केला, तो खरंच उत्कृष्ट होता त्याच्यामध्ये. सो दीज आर माय मेमरीज. आय थिंक आपण थोडस वेळ हे करूया, कारण वी विल टेक आय थिंक प्रश्नांचा सार घेऊया फक्त. विल टेक द जिस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन्स अँड आय थिंक आय जस्ट अलाव शर्लिन टू you can speak about Kathanika, then Chitra would conduct a few questions, and then we'll end the session with Vande Mataram by Riddhi. And by the way, Vande Mataram also, we don't have to say that it has a mention of flowers related to indirectly and very beautifully put by the writer in tribute to the motherland. So I think let's end with that fragrance. And that's it. I think, Charlene, over to you.
थँक्यू राहुलजी फॉर शेअरिंग दॅट मेमरी. तर खूप छान एक असा मेमरी शेअर केल्यात तुम्ही. अँड वन ऑफ द थिंग्स आय आस्क फॉर माय ऑडियन्सेस वेन दे कम फॉर दिस सेशन, आय आस्क देम टू कम विथ फॅमिली अँड आय वॉन्ट देम टू टॉक. आता मी जे केलंय ते मी फक्त त्यांना एक टॉपिक दिलंय, म्हणजे त्यांच्या आपसात बोलायचं. सो इट्स अ टॉपिक फॉर अ कॉन्व्हर्सेशन. So I want you to share with your children your memories with flowers. Ask the children, show them flowers. So these become topics. And at Kathanika, what I try to do is this: get people to talk to each other. And therefore, I say stories are important. Just like we go to school for an education, we get a degree for ourselves. We manage we build finance for ourselves. We build money to take care of ourselves. But what about our mental health? How do you build something for that? So you need stories. You need to talk to family members. You need to talk to friends. You need to experience things around you. So money and everything is there. But finally, and we don't know where our children are headed. So we need to build memories for them. And such topics, I do such workshops through Kathanika where I encourage people to come together to discuss such topics so that they create a bank of memories for themselves and for their families, for their children to remember and to talk about and to go ahead. So at Kathanika, I believe in the importance of stories, that we must equip ourselves and our children with a lot of stories, because stories teach us how to deal, how to understand, and how to respond to circumstances in our life. We cannot experience everything, and that is what makes us human beings different from other animals. We can share our experiences, and based on it, we can, if we are in that situation, we have heard a story कि अशा अशा व्यक्ति ने अशे अशे this person responded to this situation in this way, then I can also do like that. For example, a very, very apt thing is right now we are stuck in this COVID time. It's not the first time the world has gone into lockdown because of a disease. It has happened before, but we have lost the stories. Had we had some of the stories, perhaps it would have helped us to deal with today's crisis. It has happened maybe not in our grandmother's time, but their grandmother's time. So if they would have told it down, कि अरे असं झालं होतं, and imagine today we have internet, we have phone, we are connected. That time they were not connected, and still they survived. We are here living proof कि they overcame that. But the stories are lost. So it is very, very important for you to tell stories, and this is my small way through Kathanika to keep stories alive, especially folktales. Folktales make a lot of people uncomfortable. Current folktales are brutal. Folktales are not sugar coated. Folktales tell you that this person was killed, because at the time that these happened, the world is a cruel place. So you can, how long are you going to hide children from it? Somewhere they have to know it. So Kathanika does these sessions. So we do a lot of sessions. I do corporate sessions. I tell sessions at schools. I run something called as bedtime tales. We run this every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, where I tell stories from around the world. So one needs to listen to different types of stories. And since we are living in a cosmopolitan world today, we cannot restrict ourselves to only आपल्याकडच्याच कथा आपण ऐकूया. We are living in a cosmopolitan world. So we better equipped ourselves की अमेरिकामध्ये काय होतं, how is the geography there, and stories teach us so much. We think that अरे एक story है, but if you go and a story needs to be repeated many times, and each time you will learn, you will take away something different from that story. So when you are listening to a folk tale from America, you are not only listening to a story, you are listening, you are educating, or you are learning about their culture, about their language. So there is so much more. So I tell stories on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday as part of bedtimes, where I expose people to stories from around the world. I also do workshops. So I've just given a glimpse of my flower workshop. I am offering this workshop over the next 2 weekends. I will share the details with you, and those who are interested can opt to join the workshop. I will be sharing many more stories, and I'm hoping to kindle the interest among people uh, through this small way. Yes, so I think that is what I had to say. Are there any questions for me?
Over to you, Chitra.
Um, Hi Shaleen, once again.
Hi.
खूप मजा आली ऐकताना. आणि
Thank
जेव्हा वक्ता इतकं छान उत्साहाने सगळी माहिती देत असतो आणि अर्थपूर्ण माहिती देत असतो ना, तेव्हा बऱ्याचदा श्रोते ना अगदी निशब्द होतात. Speechless, the people become. And that's why I don't think there is any question. But I want to ask you a few things on my own, probably on behalf of everyone. See, what happened, it's like what I personally really enjoyed here in this, you can say, talk. You have combined nature, you have combined the essence of life, and through the folklore, you have put it up. So that has created an interest in knowing about our history, about our it's like you can say the biology in a way, and also the morality of life as well. So first of all, I really want to thank you for it, because it's a very difficult task to put all of these three together without making it sound or like look boring. So you are very happening during the speech and the story, so we enjoyed it. I literally got lost in your story. I was literally visualizing those teeth of the monster. um, I think you were talking about sharvari or sharvari.
Shalmali.
Sharvari.
Shalmali.
Shalmali. Yeah, you mean.
Shalmali. Huh.
Right. And Taman, as I quickly, because you asked us to share about our memories, I have probably for the first time and last time got beaten by my mom, because once on the way back to my home, I forgot to. I actually got lost with the beautiful colors. I like purple shades. So I climbed a tree. I was picking up the flowers, and ideally I could have reached home at 12 by 12, but that was the day I could not reach by 1:30. So my grandmother was scolding my mom to go and look for me, and eventually my mom started walking towards my school, and she found me on the tree because few of my classmates were downstairs, and then they said she's up, and they only actually had sent me up,
Huh.
but she bit me. She literally bit me from that tree to home, and till today I have no courage without informing her uh, to stay back wherever I am. So I really enjoyed that part because it makes you nostalgic when you tell the stories like that. Regarding your Kathanika, I really appreciate. You are the first person in last 10 months, I can say 10 months, that I have heard you saying that we must document what we did during the lockdown, and like when we were at home, because see, we are doing webinars and we are doing seminars, but if there is a documentation, probably not now, but we don't expect any pandemic now after getting so suffered, but it would be a nice, I can say, help to the future generation. In case if they have to suffer like this, they will have a backup plan. At least this one way they can try and overcome, or at least they will have a peace of mind. So I really appreciate you. Um, as I said, there are no questions. You spoke so well that people just got mesmerized in your talk, and I would say your gestures and your body language was so interesting. We got really into the story. So, as now we are concluding the session today, I want to say thank you to
Uh,
you.
uh,
Yeah, you want to go ahead, Rahul?
Chitra, there is one question from Alka Tawari. She is the principal of CTS College.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
not
think
seeing
I
in our
should.
chat. So, yeah,
Yeah, so I saw that. So therefore, I thought it was important. So I'm asking that the way trees and plants have been brought in with different cultures from far off lands, do we have example of folklores of foreign lands absorbed as our own? Interesting question. I thought I should put this. And there is an appreciation for you from my friend Mr. Sandeep Samant. Is that he says, "Ma'am, in Urdu you are Afsana Nigar." So it just I thought I should mention to you. So if you could answer this question by Alka, ma'am, I think it was.
So, Rahulji, if I understood the question correctly,
Huh.
ma'am is asking that whether there are stories that have traveled here and that we have adopted
Yes,
from.
yes, yeah.
That is a very interesting question. So, stories, we do not know where they came from. The stories that we call our own, we don't know if they are our own. Because stories is something they travel. There are so many versions of it. I know for a fact that the story that we tell in Maharashtra, especially, every child in Maharashtra knows Chal re bhopla tunuk tunuk. That is, matlab, if you don't know that story, then how can
then
you
you
be from
probably
Maharashtra?
not lived the
Hmm.
childhood.
So every child, Maharashtrian child, has to know Chal re bhopla tunuk tunuk, the grandmother and the bhopla. This story is there in Africa. So now, where did it come
Oh,
first? Was it in
okay.
Africa or was it here? So people have traveled, and only this thing of copyright and everything has come only now, couple of years back. Before there was no copyright. Everyone was like, "Le jao, take it, spread
Hmm.
it. Don't keep it to yourself." And I think that is very important about stories. Please don't keep it to yourself. Tell it. If only you would tell, then I don't know in what way you can help, but stories, I was mentioning about creating cushioning for your future. Like I mentioned, that you create money, you put money in the bank account कि कल कुछ हो जाएगा तो you have finance. लेकिन आप अपने mental health के लिए क्या कर रहे हो? You need to hear stories. If you have not heard the story of the fox and the sour grapes, you are not able to face failure in your life. You want something desperately, आणि ते आपल्याला, it didn't come to us. मग काय करायचं? मग आपण रडायचं, मग दुसऱ्यांना दोष द्यायचा, but you heard the story of Fox and the sour grapes. Okay, theek hai, maybe it was sour. It's okay. And then you can go to the next thing in life.
Yeah.
But if you have not heard that story, then you will probably sit and keep it KR. Maybe the world is angry with me. Maybe God is angry with me. Maybe I didn't try enough. Ye, they, whatnot. You will start blaming yourself. So you need to create this cushion for your man. And today we are traveling. We don't know where our children will be. We are here. We have moved from our ancestral villages where we used to be cushioned by relatives. When there is a calamity in the family, your joint family came together to cushion you. Today we are living in cities. We are living alone by ourselves. Tomorrow our children will live out of countries. Already people are living out of countries. Then what do they take with them? They can't carry the land. They can't carry the people. What can they carry? They can carry stories with them. So we must tell them stories about our ancestors, about our people, about what happened, even the smallest thing, and make an effort to create a memory so that they know how to deal in life. And I feel that stories is one of the best mediums to educate your children, because we don't know what future they are going to. The science that we are teaching today, we don't know how much of use it will be for them. But imagination is definitely of use to anybody at any stage. So there is, in fact, a saying, I forget the quote is by whom. I think it was Einstein. I don't quite remember. But they said that if you don't have imagination, you are lost. Imagination is the most important. Therefore, some of the stories are so absurd that when I tell stories, the children come back to me and ask, "Man, did this really happen? Did they really turn into swans?" I said, "I don't know." But that child didn't understand then. But when the child listens to that story again and again and again, it's probably a metaphor. And maybe not then. So when you come to me to listen to stories, I'm not saying you will listen and understand the stories now itself. 10 years from now or 15 years from now, it will strike you, oh, this is what the story was talking about. So therefore, this is about telling stories, and listen to all different types. Listen to fairy tales also, because you need that there will be a happy ending at the end. Listen to folk tales to know कि brutal भी हो सकता है, दुनिया can be bad, and it is the way. ठीक है, make your peace with it. There is life, there is death. Stories very nicely takes all of this without creating any enemies. Like, everybody come and listen to the stories. So yes, I
So
hope
true.
I have
Yeah.
answered
So
that.
Rahul, is that the last?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Sherlyn, once again. It was really interesting. It was very enchanting, as Rahul said. It definitely gave us a very good view, and definitely it's something to think about, how to document whatever we have done and how better we can do. We don't know when it is going to end, but we should hope it will end fast. And whenever it ends, it will end on a good note, that we learned some good lessons out of it. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Rahul. I want to thank Riddhi. I want to thank Media Vidya, that is Aditya, for his technical support. And thank you all the listeners and everybody, because today we learned a lot. And I want to conclude you can say, this two lines of me by saying, no, I know, of course, Vande Matram, but I want to pay tribute to Vijay Kaka, because having met him personally, I know how Rahul, I think we all need to learn many things from him, or from his memories now, because he's no more physically. But whatever the enthusiasm he has, whatever dedication he had, I hope we get at least 10% of it, so we can do something better for our future generation. So over to you, Riddhi or Rahul.
Yeah. Riddhi, I'll just take 2 minutes. So, Sagyana, a big thank to everyone who has attended. आणि हा पहिलाच विजय चेंबूरकर स्मृती मंचाचा पहिलाच ऑनलाईन प्रयत्न होता आणि तो मला वाटते बऱ्या प्रकारे वेगळ्या पद्धतीने आणि खूप चांगला बिकॉज ऑफ शर्लिन इट हॅज बीन अ सक्सेस. पुढेही आपण असेच उपक्रम ऑनलाईन करायचा प्रयत्न करणार आहोत. ज्यांनी कोणी मिस झालं असेल त्यांना मला वाटतं YouTube वरती हे किंवा फेसबुक पेजवर बघता पण येईल, ऐकता पण येईल. सो आवर्जून सगळ्यांनी हे शेअर करावं. आणि आता आपण वंदे मातरमनी आपल्या कार्यक्रमाचा शेवट करूया. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Also, thank you, Sherlyn ma'am. It was a beautiful lecture. And I would just like to say one thing, if Rahul sir permits me.
Yeah, sure.
So that first of all, flowers and memories is something, when you hear it for the first time, it's very difficult to visualize that how flowers and memories, because with our fast going world, we never think that, okay, so flower can also help us rekindle our memories. But the way you narrated the stories, it helped me, yes, that even I have some memories with flowers. So I always associate flowers with my maternal and paternal grandmothers. So these people have no, like, if we even see today, our grandmothers are not that educated or qualified. They were married at a very young age, but they have so much knowledge about flowers. They know so much about gardening. Like today, people go and actually do professional courses in gardening to have flowers or to grow something at their house. But these people know so much about gardening and they have so many beautiful flowers. So when I associate memories and flowers, I always go back to the gardens at my maternal grandmother's house, and how I always water the plants when I go in there, and how those fragrances of all the flowers together. So that is a very beautiful memory that I have. And you also rekindled the collective memory of folk tales and the individual memories of each one today here who was listening to you. So thank you so much for that. And now I would like to start with Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Sujalam Sufalam Malayaj Shitalam Sasya Shamalam Mataram Vande. Sujalam Sufalam Malayaj Shitalam Sasya Shamalam Mataram Vande. Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Shubhra Jyotsanam Pulakitayamini Fulya Kusumita Drumadala Shobhinim Suhasinim Sumadhura Bhashinim Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Saptakoti Kantha Kalakala Ninada Karale Trisaptakoti Bhujai Druta Kar Karvale Abela ke numaye to bole बाहुबल धारिणीं नमामि तारिणीं रिपुदल वारिणीं मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं त्वमहि दुर्गा दश प्रहरण धारिणी कमला कमल दल विहारिणी वाणी विद्यादायिनी नमामि त्वं नमामि कमलाम् अमलाम् अतुलां सुजलां सुफलां मातरं श्यामलां सरलां सुष्मितां भूषितां धरणीं भरणीं मातरं वन्दे 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 मातरं. Thank you.
जय हिंद.
जय हिंद.
जय
सो
हिंद.
थँक्यू शर्लिन. सो आपण आता शेवट करूया कार्यक्रमाचा. आदित्य आपण बंद करूया.
Thank you so much.